I'm going to be speaking with Nick Olivero of Boxcar Theatre. Nick, welcome. Tell us, what gave you the idea to do a transgender Romeo and Juliet?
You know, it started over Thai food with one of my company members. I was talking to him about our new direction as a company. We, in the past, have been a writer's theater, and now we're making the shift to become a director's theater. And he was asking me, what does that mean? I said, well, it means taking visions and concepts for shows, and but that could be applied to anything. It could be new work or it could be old work. But it's more than just taking, say, Shakespeare, for instance, and setting it on the moon. And he said, and so in this conversation, we said, oh, it's like doing Romeo and Juliet, and then we both kind of naturally said with two men. And this was November, so it was right
which probably has been done at some point.
You know, I heard that there was a production of in the East Bay where two men had performed the play, but not this way. This is completely it's an adaptation. It's a completely different production with Shakespeare's language, though.
Well, and it's interesting. I mean, I remember when I was in theater school, you would hear about productions of Twelfth Night or As You Like It or some of the others that had some gender issues, but I've never heard of a transgender Romeo and Juliet or Julianne.
Yeah. Well, it seems fitting, and with the you know, Boxcar's not an LGBT company. We don't market ourselves that way, but we do believe that we have a political and a social obligation, and this is the climate right now. And in November, you know, with Prop 8 passing, we said this sounds like a really good opportunity to look at the core of what the show is about, which is about two people who are in love, who, for whatever reason, are society's telling them that they can't be in love. And in the original text, we all know it's the Capulets versus the Montagues, and it's these two families that are at war. That's removed. It's completely gone. It has nothing to do with this production. It's not important. What's important is that these two people aren't allowed to be together. And it's really amazing how the work fits perfectly with this story. But it's been cut, it's been reordered. There's actually only 5 characters in it now. Mercutio doesn't die, like not to give anything away, but he doesn't die. And the Queen Mab speech is cut. So, you know, we might catch a little bit of fire for some of that stuff, but that's part of the idea of this new director's theater, is to make these really bold choices that are on one side of the fence or the other, and there's no middle ground anymore. There's no I guess, room for mediocrity or safe choices.
Right. Well, you say safe. Certainly, what I've seen of Boxcar Theatre has been playing it safe. I mean, the production that I saw just a few weeks ago, Rent Boy Avenue, is about the edgiest piece of theater I've ever seen. I told someone afterwards it was like a porn movie meets Rent. I mean, and it was exciting. What surprised me was how approachable it was, even with the language and the material, which is about male prostitutes in New York.
Underage male prostitutes.
Yeah, it was pretty edgy. Yeah. You say you're not an LGBT theater company, but San Francisco has given birth to a lot of groups like New Conservatory, Theater Rhinoceros, which is having a rough time financially. What do you say to the LGBT community? Because I think a lot of people now have seen the season and say, wow, we've got new gay theater in town. Is that just because, as you say, the political environment?
Partly. I mean, we are in the midst of the gay rights movement. And if it was, you know, 50 years ago, we would be doing a
plays about the civil rights movement.
Exactly. And if it was even before then, we might be doing women's lib. It's our obligation as theater artists to look at what's going on. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, Rent Boy dealt a lot with the economic situation. It wasn't just about male prostitution. It was really about what people do to survive. How do they make money? And to look at all of those different components that go into it. So a lot of it had to do with the kind of political environment that we are right now as a country.
So what is it like running a small theater south of Market during the worst economic downturn since the Depression? Come on, I'm sure you've never been asked that question.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a walk in the park. Are you kidding? No, it's, you know, it has its challenges, but I think it's like anything else. I focus on, if we put up good shows, we put up work that people want to see, and their quality work when they walk through the door, then we'll be fine. And I think that's true for any business out there. And that's how we run our model, is finding that balance between what are the artistic endeavors that we want to see with what are the artistic projects that our audience wants to see, and then how can we find something that will actually pay our rent, because you know, that's the bottom line, is that we do have to pay.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. What does the rest of the season look like? Is it stuff that's going to pay your rent, or
You know, I'm eternally optimistic. I say every single show, oh, this is going to be the biggest show of the year. You know, that's you know, that's kind of my pratfall there. We're doing an unprecedented 11 productions next year with.
That's more than any theater in town.
More than any company I've ever heard of in my life. Yeah. And that's our response to people saying theater's dying and people can't do theater and we got to tighten our belts. And we're saying, hey, look, if you got a space and you got the people who want to work, we can do the work. And we have people coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, I want to do this project. And we're going, great, let's do it.
And is this a standing company, or how do you cast your productions at Boxcar?
We have 20 company members. That's the core, and there's as much as they want to. They can't do all 15 productions, and I won't let them. They'll go insane. So I look to them first, and I say, hey, what are you guys interested in doing? And a lot of them are directors and are writers and the actors, and that's where they come from, designing team as well. And basically, we look at the projects that they want to do, and then we look at outside people, and we kind of do a mix match. We're doing one show. It'll probably be our smallest production of the year, but it's one for us. It's based on our original production, our very first production from 2005, 21-1, which is about San Francisco. So it's a remount of that called I Heart SF, and it's just a fun night of theater. On a clothesline is going to be all the different neighborhoods of San Francisco, and the audience yells out what neighborhood they want to see, and then we perform that neighborhood. And
so it's improv.
No, it's the performance will be each nightly will be different, but the pieces are set.
I understand.
So they just come in a different order.
So it's like a box of candy, and you pick what you want.
Exactly. Pick on what you want. If we don't get through them all, we don't get through them all.
So it sounds to me kind of like you're the anti-ACT.
No, we're the next ACT.
So what do you
just
mean?
with less zeros.
I got it. But I mean, do you see yourself at some point becoming a huge regional theater like that? Would that be your dream as an artistic director?
My actual dream is and don't look at this in the negative connotation of when you hear franchise, because people think of McDonald's, Burger King, all these like little nasty franchises, but think of them from their pure form, is to have a boxcar theater in every metropolitan city around the country, if not even outside of the country. And so to take our formula, which this idea of a director's theater, and to have, I call it a Knights of the Round Table. So we think of, we have 8 to 10 different directors who are sitting around a table going, what are we going to do as a company? So instead of myself or Peter, who is my co-artistic director, Peter Matthews, instead of us saying, these are the shows we're going to do, we ask this group, what are we going to do as a company?
So is this democracy or anarchy?
Well, how is Camelot run, right? You still have the head. You know that King Arthur he's the guy. He's the man who's laying down the law. But you have to trust the people that you're with, and you have to do the things that they want to do as well. It can't just be about you. It has to be about the other artist. So if we take this formula, or this format of 10 directors who are working with Boxcar San Francisco, and then we take it one step up, and now we have 8 different artistic directors from around the country who then say, what are we going to do as a company, with 8 different heads? Are we going to share projects together? Are we going to each do our own different projects? Can we now have actors in Chicago who get to come over to San Francisco, and we do some mix matching? Right. And now we have a sort of staple throughout the country.
Right. Well, you mentioned Chicago, which I know is where you're from originally. There is a very Chicago feel to kind of what goes on at Boxcar. I mean, you're in what would be, I think, politely be described as a gritty neighborhood.
Yeah.
How do you get people to go south of Market to see theater that is not going to be Camelot?
Well, people come down our block to go to Toulon, which is the best Vietnamese restaurant in town. So if they can come that far, they can come just a little bit farther. That's the way I look at it. And we've embraced our surroundings. Rent Boy, people love that about the show. When Trash Can Sally, who's this homeless woman, points at someone in the audience. I wasn't sure if it was you or not. I think you might have been right next to him. But she says, I can't believe you paid $25 some odd to come out here and see what you can get outside for free. Yeah. People love that because they realized where they are and that we're finally embracing. And we're not going to do Camelot in our theater.